Hello there. It is time for last Monday marketing chats. It's October and we're going to be talking about resetting after burnout. Paige, how's the burnout hitting at this time of year?
I actually feel pretty good this year. I think because of the changes that I've made the last several years to like slow down my outdoor sessions and find that the right balance of not taking too many outdoor sessions has really, really helped this year. And just made it like I feel pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Oh,
tired. I'm still like, oh, I've been working a lot and I have actually like a pretty busy November, which is usually it's more like September,
mm.
October and less into November. But this year I have a lot of babies in November, which is exciting, but also like, oh, okay. So it's a different kind of busy. And as everybody knows, photography is this weird up and down, and it's not always consistent where you think it's going to be consistent.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and I think that's kind of what we wanted to talk about this week because I think there's a feeling that in being incredibly busy to the point where it's not good for your health or relationships or mental health is somehow just an accepted part of being a photographer because things go up and down in cycles. And I think probably we want to say is it doesn't have to be that way.
yeah, well, and so I think we should say like this whole conversation stemmed because I was telling you about this Facebook post that I saw for this lady who is a newborn photographer. And she said, I'm not sleeping. I'm getting like 3 hours of sleep a night. I'm going to bed really late. My husband's putting the kids to bed. I'm not seeing them. And she was saying all these things. And she said, so I've decided to stop taking bookings and I'm going to be selling my props. And all these people commented and were like, well, wait. Why would you sell your props? Why would you close your business just because you're busy? What's going on? How can you make it better in some way? And so almost everyone was encouraging her to increase her prices, which I know, especially for new photographers, can feel really scary and they just don't feel like that's something that they can do. So put this over here for a second. But then the other factor is she was saying that her big problem was editing, that she was spending so much time editing, she was staying up too late. And then come to find out, as I kind of read through these comments, it came more and more clear that she was really only doing 2 or 3 sessions a month, but she was charging about $100 for them. And then it was taking her all these out. I don't know. I think she was giving all the images, which is always a factor. But obviously, her time ratio to do those 2 or 3 sessions to make $300 made zero sense. So I think there's this like people underestimate the money factor because they're like, well, I don't only do it for the money. I love photography. I want to do it. But when you're not being compensated and you're missing time with your family and you
Mhm.
feel this pressure of like, I said yes to do this thing and now I have to do it, it feels awful because
Yeah.
you're
And
not
is
even
it
seeing like the benefit of it.
right? It's not even an enjoyable experience, even if you were doing it for free, which we certainly do not advocate that you do it for free. But even if you were doing it for free, there has to be some benefit to you, creative benefit,
Yeah.
enjoyment, like something has to be in there. And I think this is where when burnout happens, all those choices that are maybe less than ideal, like coalesce in one moment and everything feels
Hmm.
too much.
Well, and sometimes it does feel like that. Well, I'm so overwhelmed, just burn down the business.
Mhm.
And we don't want you to do that.
No, we
We
definitely don't.
offer you some solutions to
And I
not do that.
think, yeah, and I think a lot of it, I think we've talked about this a little bit before, is thinking about future, future Jill or future Paige or future whoever you are. Don't promise you're going to do a Friday night session at 9 and a Saturday sunrise session at 8 in the morning. If you
Yeah.
know that you're a person who needs a lot of sleep, like the idea, oh, well, maybe I'll bring some money into the business. But I think sometimes we're doing our future self a disservice and we're making our future self be miserable just
Mhm.
so that in the moment we can say, yes, we're going to add some more money to the business by saying yes to this.
I was listening to some coach months ago, and maybe I've told you this before, but he was talking about how you should think about the job and then say, would I want to do that tonight and or tomorrow?
Right.
And would you say yes if that was the case? And almost always you're like, no, I don't want to do that tonight
That
because
sounds terrible.
yeah. And so with that in mind, you're like, okay, do I really want to take that Friday night session? Do I want to pack my weekend? Like
Yeah.
I don't. And I've found over the years that like people will work with my schedule.
Hmm.
Like I used to think that if I didn't offer Friday and Saturday sessions, I wouldn't be able to book. Just not true. I booked
Right.
just as many fall sessions this year as I have in the past and have made just as much money, and I didn't work a single weekend.
Yeah.
So, like, you can make those changes in your business that allow you to feel much less pressure or get the time back that you want or space them out the way that you need to so that you don't feel so overwhelmed. Like, I offered different days, but no more than 2 nights each week
Yeah.
because I was like, well, I don't want to offer more than that. I will do like an ordering appointment in the evening and
Hmm.
then one day of shooting or something like that. But I don't stack my evenings where I'm missing out on my family time or my weekends.
Well, and I think this is where it can be baby steps. We're not saying never take a weekend client again, because it's taken you a while to get, a number of years
Well,
to
and
get to this
and some
point.
people might go the exact opposite. I
Yeah.
know a lot of photographers that are like, "Hey, my husband works all week. I have little babies and I can't work, and so my weekend is when I work."
Yeah.
And that whatever works for you, this is what has worked for me and what makes me feel good about my business. And I think that's the biggest thing is like what's going to make you feel good, what's going to give you your time back, what's going to make you feel like you're compensated and you can rest and feel like you
And
know.
and I think that's what we say often, and we really want you to take away from this in big picture is you don't have to go replicate what you see somebody else's business like on social media just because they tell you they made a success of it. You don't have to replicate Paige's business. It's like what makes the most sense for you and your family and your life. So maybe all weekends are great, but you're just not a morning person, in which case you just say, I'm not taking anything before noon, but I will stack up my whole afternoon with sessions. But nope, I cannot do a 10 in the morning just because this family wants a 10 in the morning session.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think like there's opportunities. Like I took some pictures of a family that it just happened to be that I had to do them at noon. And I never want to shoot at noon. Like that's usually like a big no-no for me. They're beautiful. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, why don't I shoot at noon?
Because you saw a
And
different
so
kind of lighting, I'm guessing,
yeah, it was just kind of
sunset.
like and so I think sometimes like, I mean, I don't know that I would stack my whole schedule with noon sessions, but there are opportunities there that sometimes you can be like, well, why can't I break this rule of like, oh, I have to do sunrise or
Mhm.
sunset for them to be beautiful photos or for someone to want them? Like, I think that you can work around people's schedules and your own to make this life that like feels
Yeah.
but of course, that's the scheduling part of it. I think
Yes.
it's not so much the scheduling part, even though that is a big factor, but it's the aftermath that I
Hmm.
think people underestimate because you don't, if you haven't done your cost of doing business in terms of hours, not money, but hours, it's really hard to understand how much you're really committing to if you don't know those numbers, right? So
Yeah.
like if you like for me it's roughly 10 hours for me to do a newborn session between emailing them, communicating beforehand, figuring out their clothing, getting them in the studio, doing the actual shoot, and then editing afterwards.
And all
Now,
the messages you're sending, and maybe like pre-appointment
mhm.
meetings, and all the different kind of time you spend communicating with your client as well. Like you've got to add all those things in.
Sorry, my phone is ringing.
That's all right. But
Yeah, absolutely.
especially if you're going to pack your schedule, so maybe you don't quite know your numbers when you do one or two a week or one or two a month. But if you're suddenly going to go into fall and say, I want to have like the majority of my time is booked in these 2 months, and you're suddenly going to do three, four times as much as you usually do, all those slight slips where you didn't quite realize how long it was is multiplied by that many times.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I just think that people underestimate how long editing takes them most of the
Yeah.
time. So if you're, doing 5 hours of editing on a single session and you took 10 sessions, like where are you getting those 50 hours? Maybe you
Mhm.
have them, maybe you don't. But if your 50 hours have to happen in the middle of the night, then of course you're going to feel that burnout because you don't have that time. If you're a busy mom during the day and then you're going to do that photo shoot, you might think, well, I just have to do a 1 hour photo shoot. It's not a big deal. My husband can watch the kids while I go do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then you need those 5 hours to edit that session. And so if you don't factor for those things, you're putting yourself in a really bad spot. And
Yeah.
that's where you can get yourself in
Especially if the
trouble.
next day you have another session and now you've got two sets of 5 hours to
Uh-huh.
do and
And
it
you
just
get
keeps
far
going.
behind, and then sometimes you don't deliver your images on time, and then clients get mad and
Yeah, so I think understanding the process and this is maybe a little bit different if you are booking a lot of like family sessions in fall, like you do sometimes. But like what's your normal workflow of a week? Does it suit you to stack all your
Mhm.
editing on certain days and not take clients? Does it suit you that you like doing your editing in the evening because maybe you have a partner at home that can look after the kids while you do that? So like really understanding the flow of your week, as in where would you like to put this in ideally, knowing that you have to do 5, 15, 30 hours of it, where are you going to put it in your week?
Yeah, and I've learned that over the years that I have to block out a couple of my weekday days to do that. I started blocking out Mondays and usually Wednesdays for me because I like to do stuff like this. Like I have admin things and stuff I want to work on for my business and with our business. And so I mostly do that on Mondays. And then Wednesdays are kind of this flux day where if I have to add someone in, I can, but a lot of times I'm just editing that day or like this morning I spent some time like getting my stuff organized for my Christmas sessions and like making sure I had everything that I wanted ordered. So just those like little detail things that are time consuming, but you have to get them done for your business. And then one day where I'm like, okay, I've had a lot of sessions lately, so I need more editing days. So I better make sure that I don't have anything on Friday because I might need to work on Friday morning,
Mhm.
or I need to make sure that my Wednesday is clear, that I'm not booking somebody that maybe is not an ideal fit for me just because they want a session. Like you get those clients. I had one the other day that it just didn't feel right. Like it was a maternity client. They had a little girl, but had a new baby on the way. And normally, like I like a 2-year old in a maternity session. It,
Mhm.
it seemed like it should have been a good fit, but just the whole time we were talking, it just didn't feel like she wanted what I was offering, and it didn't
Mhm.
feel like we were connecting in any way. And then they kind of walked away, and I went, you know what? I think I'm okay if they don't book.
Yeah.
Because even though like at first you're like, oh, well, I want the income from this session. I want another
Mhm.
session on the books. But then I thought about my November and I thought about how busy I already am. And I thought about where, what I would be sacrificing to put this person in. And then I thought about the fact that she didn't feel like a good fit.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, do I want to do their session tomorrow? No, I don't. So it's okay to say no to those things to protect the
Time.
rest of you.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the other things that we've particularly been talking about is if you're listening to this in October or November, if you're in the middle of burnout or you've just come off a horrendously busy session, this all is probably you're not ready to apply all this right this second. Like it's
Mhm.
okay to take a moment. It's okay to maybe be like, I love this idea, but I have 5 sessions to do between now and the end of the week, and I'm just churning everything through. Um, but I think what's really key if you're in burnout or you're just coming off a really busy session like period like that is to start making notes of all those things where it felt like it was falling apart.
That's what I
Because
was going to say
talking
too.
about
Start
future
to journal.
you, right? Like July you and August you is not going to remember all the actual things that were really bugging you about your schedule and all the work you had to do. Like, was it, gosh, this editing is wild and I wish I could have outsourced it. I wish someone was doing it for me or there was a faster way. Or is it, I love editing and I want to take that on, but oh my goodness, I packed all my session back to back too fast and I actually need a break between my sessions and I can't do them back to back. Like, where are the little breaking, the cracks? I think it is probably. Where are you feeling the cracks right now?
Yeah, well, and I think that journaling about it is like, I
You
mean,
know I love
you're a
that.
writer, so I know you like it.
Write about it or
I
talk to
don't usually
someone. You
journal,
talk
but
to
I've
each
been
other about
doing it
it.
more. What's that?
Or talk
Say
to
that
someone
again.
about it. Like, have someone you
Yeah,
can
oh yeah.
honestly tell what's going on.
But if you tell somebody about it, write down what you told them so that you
Yes,
remember it.
that's true.
Because I think that's the key part. Unless you're going to have a Jill for your that it can remind you, remember you said this page,
Well,
you
and I
know.
also think if you're the kind of person who's integrating IA into your business, AI can potentially help you figure out a good schedule, and having
Mhm.
those journal notes that you could input, like type them in and be like, here's how I was feeling and what I was thinking. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not going to be very good, but maybe it is. Maybe the process of rereading it in a couple of months, or even just inputting the information into your chat GPT or your Claude or whatever you use, might actually be a way to help you be like, oh yeah, these are the sticking points I got to in October or November.
Yeah, I think that writing down any and everything that bugs you or on the flip side like feels good. You
Yeah.
know, like I did Monday minis this year where I did three back to back and I was like this was good. This worked
Mhm.
really well for me. It felt smooth and easy. Normally I don't like
I
minis,
was just going to
but
say, I think of you as saying I don't want to do minis,
I
but
know.
there you go. You
And
just
so I
go
don't
give
usually do
yourself
them, but
one.
I did four Mondays this year where I had three sessions on each Monday. And I I mean, I got a little bit lucky because I didn't have to reschedule anyone. I didn't have any
Mhm.
rainy days where we couldn't do them. So that's always one of my biggest, we've talked
Mhm.
about that before, but that's one of my biggest concerns with Monday minis or with minis in general, because then that overwhelm of having to reschedule can
Mhm.
be a lot. So I kind of got lucky in that sense. But I think writing that down or like remembering that feeling of like, oh, this worked, this didn't. How can I change things? How much time did it really take me? Having like a true analysis of, was it worth it or not? I
Mhm.
also think that it really helps if you can keep track of how much money you made and how and where and why,
Yeah.
in the sense of like, okay, I did this Monday mini campaign. I booked this many sessions. It brought in this much money. Was it worth it to do that or
Mhm.
not? Because
And
I think sometimes people see the money coming in and they're like, oh yeah, no, I did 3 days of mini shoots and it was great and all these people paid me, and then they feel that burnout because they're scrambling to get all the editing done from 3 full days where they had 10 sessions each day and now they've got 30 sessions to edit, and they gave them all the images for $250. And then you're like, okay, so now I have 300 hours of editing to do,
so much editing.
150 hours of editing to do whatever. And
Yeah.
so you're like, of course you're going to be behind. Of course you're going to feel that overwhelm. And all of a sudden that $250 a session times 30 seemed like a lot of money, but really doesn't feel like it once you've put all those hours into it and like
Mhm.
what it actually translates to when you do all the work.
Which
So,
sometimes is how you sell as well, right? So for you, if
yeah.
you're doing minis, when you use IPS, like are those people upselling into more products, or do you find that
Yeah.
like they're just naturally going to buy less? In which case, three mini sessions in a
Yeah.
day, it might be better that you don't sacrifice the potential for a full session on that day.
Well, and I find that different things bring in different income levels. Like when I do my chunky baby sessions, they don't generally upsell that much because people are like, oh, well, I only need one or two of them at this stage. The whole family's not in the pictures, it's just the baby. So really, like, I make more money off the things that come out of chunky baby rather than those sales. Whereas like fall family sessions, usually we're doing mom and baby, dad and baby, the whole family, like all the different combinations. So you end up with a bigger gallery, you end up selling more images.
Yeah.
And so those mini sessions, even though it's the same amount of time for me, are more profitable than chunky baby. So I think analyzing those campaigns or whatever it is that you're doing is really important in figuring out your burnout levels, because it can really help you determine whether it's actually monetarily worth it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
And
put that stress on yourself, I mean.
Yeah, and I think again, when we talk about this in terms of what do you do right now, if you're in the middle of a busy season or you've just come off a busy season, there's not too much of that you can do now. You can maybe go back and try and analyze where things came from. But I think a lot more what we're trying to suggest is start to implement some of these things now so that next year it that information is easier to find, so that then the year after that or the season after that you're in a place where you can implement in it. Like this is we're not expecting your whole business to do a 180 in the next month or something like that, but like how can you start to make the steps so that the the idea of this September season. Like, remember how it feels now, because the you in July and August, as you're putting it together, doesn't remember that, and you think it'll be okay. And if you've done it for a few years in a row, you probably have, like, every year you're like, oh no, I promised myself I wouldn't do this, but here I am
Mhm.
again.
Well, and I think that there's this thing that happens, at least it happens to me, where you have a very busy fall and then January is very slow and you go, okay, wait, I want the people back. Like, even though you were just burned out, you were just feeling
What
that,
can
like,
I
oh
do
my
to
God, I
bring
have
them
too many
again?
clients. It's overwhelming. You get through Christmas and then you get to January and you're like, where is everybody? And then you want them back and you're trying to do all these different things to get them back in the door. And you're not necessarily, I think people jump into the marketing things and they jump into how do I get new clients in here? And obviously, I understand that from an income perspective, you do need to do some of that. But I also think it's really important in those down times to use that time to something that's going to be really beneficial to you over time and across your year. So it's like figuring out how to organize your files, like just so that you've got a cleaner desktop and it makes more sense and you can find things when you need them. Or, writing your email templates or buying ours and implementing them and putting them in an automated system so that like all your clients, even though you only have a couple in January, now
Mhm.
you have the time to work out those kinks because you're not backlogged with your editing and you're feeling like, oh, okay, I have a little time to work on the things in my business. So, how can I fix some of the things in January that are going to cause me problems in October?
And doing
You
some of these audits as well, like, how long do I actually take? We have
know?
another thing on YouTube, I think, somewhere that we can link to when I find it, of like how to do that audit of how much time do you actually spend on a whole project from the very first time. We're talking the minute someone contacts you as a lead, right
Hmm.
through to you finish the whole project, signed off, ask them for a review. You're not going to hear from them again until the next time they need photos taken. Like, it's a longer time frame than you're probably imagining and they're imagining, and there's more work involved in it than you're probably imagining.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always more than you think and it always takes longer than you think. I think having like one of those timers on your computer
Mhm.
just to like stop and start whenever you sit down can be so beneficial because I I tend to wander when I'm editing. I'll like suddenly be on a website like looking at new props and I'm like, how did I get here? Wait,
Yeah,
no, go back to editing. And I
it
get
is.
myself off target, but in doing so now I've sat at my desk for an extra hour because I went this way when I was supposed to be going like this. And so I account for that sometimes,
Mhm.
no, always, because I know that I have that tendency. I know it takes me a little bit longer because I do get distracted and I'm still going to need that extra time at my desk to
Right.
sort it out. Now, should I work on the fact that I get distracted? Absolutely.
You
But
can work on all the things at once, but you also have to be realistic, because
yeah.
and that's that multiplying effect of a busy season, is that right now it maybe doesn't matter if you spend an extra 45 minutes, checking out props, because you don't really need to be, it's not really impacting your day that much. You can still finish up at the laptop whenever you want to be done. But
Yeah.
if you have another 4 projects waiting to be done, if realistically you're still going to do that, you do need to know that that's part of the time involved. So I think being
Well,
realistic is helpful.
I think also being aware of your energy levels during different times of the day can be really helpful
Hmm.
because I find that like if I get up early in the morning to edit, I am way more efficient. I don't get nearly as distracted as I do at night.
Yeah.
At night, I just want to go hang out with my boys and sit on the couch. And so my brain is, yeah, I'm sitting at my desk, but I'm doing other things. I'm very distracted. And the other time of day that's really hard for me is like 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Like if I've sat there all morning and it's 2 o'clock, I am not being like I'm just not getting anything done anymore. And so I know, and as I've written those things down and been more aware of my own behaviors, I've gotten much better about being like, I'm not being productive right now. I need to get up and just go for a walk, or I
That's maybe
need
best.
to,
Yeah.
go clean the kitchen or get some sort of household chore done or go to the grocery store or something that like gets me up away from my desk and get something else off my
Mhm.
list. And then I can come back and be more productive later because I just know that that's kind of my witching hour. Like I'm just not gonna get anything done at 2 o'clock.
And also, so knowing how long you can take. So when I know that when I'm deep writing for clients, I can only do that for like an hour and a half max. I cannot do
Mhm.
more than an hour and a half of really deep targeted writing for my own business or for clients' businesses. So if I was to schedule three of sessions like that back to back for three client projects, it wouldn't work. The second client would not get a very good thing, and the third one would just be a mess, and I would have to push
Yeah.
it back to another day. So like how like what is your max time? And don't then think, well, that's all right. On Friday night, I'll do all those five sessions editing if like
Right.
you're just not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, you're gonna work all weekend because you didn't get it done all week.
Yeah. Well, and I
Yeah.
think this is another thing about burnout in a general sense that I've been reading about recently that I don't think we always realize. There's part of burnout is not just that you've put too much on your plate for this season, but it's also that you're never getting a break from thinking about it because you're always doing it. And then you're less effective because you're so tired, you're always thinking about it. That you're not getting it done efficiently in periods of time, so then they get extended, and so you're waking up in the night panicking about it as you go to bed, you're like, oh my goodness, I have like seven things on the to-do list for tomorrow. You're possibly not having great, like, eating, drinking, social media habits because you're stressed about the fact that you have to get up tomorrow to do all those things. And so there's a big kind of theory about this, which is that you should have, when you're off, you should be a really fully 100% off. And I notice, and I know you do too, if I have the weekend where I don't do any work, I am so much more productive the next week because I've had 48
Mhm.
hours of just not thinking about it at all. And that's
Well,
where putting that into your business in place when you're quieter, like it benefits. Right now, if you're not very busy, sure, you can take a bit longer. Sure, you can get up on Saturday morning and do the thing you never got to. But it's actually not very good even for your business and yourself right now, not to have those like boundaries in place. And if you can start to automate things, for example, with like our emails or with how you do editing, then all of your business is going to be feel better so that when you go into the busy spells, it's going to be even easier.
yeah, and I think that being, I mean, like we've said, like being aware of your time, but also like I know that like so I do same day ordering appointments sometimes for my luxury newborns, always get them. But I can go downstairs and cull and get a image like all those images ready to show my client in like 25-30 minutes. And then I'm back upstairs ready to show them. But if I do that for my other clients, I'll spend an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And so, like, I know that I can cull that stuff and get it ready in under an hour. It doesn't take me that 45 minutes max is what I should be spending. But when I have the time, I'll be
You
like,
can.
oh, well, I'll just do this little head swap real quick because maybe they'll like that better. And I'm going to just spend this, And so then I waffle away
Yeah.
more of my time when I don't really need to get the same order. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like the client's going to
Yeah.
spend what the client's going to spend regardless. Every once in a while, I'll have something that, like I really do think that if I just do this head swap, they will buy that image.
Hmm.
I'll do it. But that's like, I mean, I'm fast at head swaps, so that literally takes me like 5 minutes.
It's not that
Um,
hard.
and
Yeah.
it's the difference between them being like, oh, there's not a good family photo of all of us versus like them being like,
But
oh my
this
God,
is
that
the
photo's
one.
amazing. How'd you get all of us to smile? And I'm like, ha, right. So I think that it's important to um, analyze how long it should take you and how long it really is taking
Mhm.
you and like setting timers for that because that can really at least make you aware of it when that timer goes off and you go, okay, I give myself an hour to do this and the timer goes off and you're only halfway done. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this is part of the problem. Like now we know where we're wasting time or every time you get distracted. But the other thing that I was going to say is, like you said, like a lot of burnout is like the physical toll that it takes on our bodies because we're not eating well, we're stressed, we're, like maybe drinking too many glasses of wine while we're editing. I know
Having too
I
much
have that
coffee and
problem.
an empty
Too much
stomach.
coffee for sure. Yes. But one other thing that I have done this year, in the last year or so, is I started Pilates and it makes me feel better. I like feel more fit and I feel more healthy. But I used to only work out when I felt like I had time versus now I have Pilates scheduled 3 days a week, no matter what. I always go to Pilates 3 days a week. And I don't take clients during those hours. I don't move my Pilates for anything unless I have like a sick kid at home or something. But in doing so, it takes an hour out of my morning that I maybe would have spent editing, but it gives me an hour less that I go, okay, now I've only got 3 hours this morning instead of 4. but I feel better
Yes.
because I went to
And you're
Pilates.
more productive as a result. And
I'm
I
more
do the
productive and
same.
I'm going, hey, I know I can cull this in 30 minutes, so I'm going to cull all four of these in my 2 hours instead of
Right.
spending, 2 hours
Well,
doing.
because quite often we fill the space we have. So if you have four
Mhm.
hours, you will take 4 hours to do the job where maybe you could have done it in two. And I
Yeah.
think for those of you who are parents and are multitasking, you know that thing where like if you just have to get it done, you will get it done because school pickup is school pickup and there's just no other you don't have to
Yeah.
be like my husband who will just spend as long as it takes to get stuff done before he comes home. I'm like, well, my hard stop is 3:15, so that's it. I don't have a choice beyond doing something beyond that point with a client or something, and I can get it done just fine without it. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes scheduling your self-care, and yeah, I walk a lot and I try to protect that time because I also know that it helps my creativity. So I will go for a walk and
Mhm.
come back and be ready to work, and it's much more productive time. But even if you don't directly see that correlation, going to a class, arranging to meet a friend, doing something like that, where it's like, okay, it's on the calendar, so that time is blocked off. Um, I'm sure you put your Pilates on the calendar like that. And I guess that's
I
another
do.
thing that we should talk about, which is if the way you schedule your appointments right now is just by asking them what time works and then trying to figure out if it works in
Yeah.
your calendar and the back and forth of that. A, there's a back and forth, but B, you've not set what times you're available so much. So going, having some access to your calendar. Now you can 100% do this through your Gmail, for example, if that's what you have, or if you have a client management system, you can do it through that, where you give them an appointment scheduler and it takes them to a link to your calendar, and your calendar has blocked off time that you're not available. Most clients won't question that at all because there are lots of spaces free in the week and they
Yeah.
just pick the one that's best for them. But it immediately protects your set of time where you're not having to ask yourself, oh, am I willing to give up that Friday night where I was sort of planning to go to the gym? Oh, sure, okay, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
move that around and I'll do it at another time. And then suddenly you notice that you're never doing those things.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you give people the option of, a Saturday evening session time, they're gonna take it.
Right.
It's
But
obviously the most convenient,
yeah,
you
but also
know?
even just if they
But
ask, like if you allow them to ask by saying, when would work for you? And they say, well, do you have Saturday at 5? Now in your mind, you're trying to juggle your evening to see if you can make it fit, rather than
no.
just not offering it and saying, I'm available on these times, which of them
Yeah.
would work for you?
Well, I also think like some people are like, well, I don't want to not offer it. And I would say to that, like, if you don't want to not offer it for more expensive.
Hmm.
Like, so that at least if they do pick that, then,
You're compensated.
you make a little bit more money from it because you're like, okay, great. Like for me, like I will do a Saturday newborn shoot. No one's ever taken me up on this, but I will do it if they buy all the images and a luxury session, which is $6,900.
Yeah.
No
So,
one's ever said yes to that.
right,
So I've never done a Saturday newborn.
which means that they don't care as much. But there's also other ways you can do that. If you're listening to this and you're like, I do not get as many clients as you, Paige. I don't get paid as much as that. Like I feel like I can't do that because people will say no. I have quite
Yeah.
a lot of clients in Europe, and so the time difference is like to the UK 7 hours. And so I used to just say, what time works for you? And I'd end up being up at like 5:45 in the morning to do the call. And recently, what I've been doing is just showing them my regular schedule, which is on Mountain Time. So there's actually only 2 or 3 hours in that that technically works for them. And I'll just say, here's my calendar. I appreciate it's not European standard. If you can't find something that works in it, let me know. Now,
Yeah.
instantly, only about 10 to 20% of people will reply and say something doesn't work. More likely, they will find a time that works for them. So you don't even have to say at chart you're going to charge more. You can just start by saying, here's my calendar. If you don't find something, let me know. And that's
Yeah.
probably just going to filter out so many of those options. So many people will just find things that they want. And if they don't like it and they come back and say, do you have a Saturday evening free? Then you can make the decision if, yeah, I would really like to, I need the money, I'm going to say yes to this. But like, don't have it as your default option.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I have that in my back pocket. I don't even put that out there. So what happens for me is I do exactly what you just said. Like if there's not a time that works for you, please let me know and we'll see what we can do to make something work. And if they respond and say we need a weekend, I say, "Great, we can do a Saturday session. So for Saturdays, here's what we do. It's
Mhm.
$6,900 and you get this, this, and this, and it's a full luxury session." And if you don't want to do a Saturday session, then, what other days would work for you? And almost everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we don't want to do that. Like
They
they
find
immediately say
they
no,
find
and
a thing.
suddenly that Tuesday does work,
Yeah, yeah, they can make it
Yeah.
work. Exactly. But yeah, and I think this is again that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can play around and experiment with what times are you happy to offer and the way you're going to do this. But part of it is trying things and maybe pushing your boundaries a little from what you're comfortable with. And you might find that those ideas you have, kind of mindset ideas, no one will buy from me if I put my price up a bit. No one will buy from me if I don't have calendar time free. Is that
Yeah.
true? Like, just try and test the assumptions a little bit and you might be surprised.
Well, so here's what I would say would be a good exercise for people, like not right now because you're busy and crazy and everything, but like maybe for January or February when things are slower and you only have a few clients trickling in, is like I would take whatever your dream scenario is, like money wise or client wise or whatever, and block everything out on a schedule where you're like, okay, let's just say that I take a Tuesday morning newborn session every single week and a Thursday morning newborn session every single week. So I've got 8 sessions for the month. It takes me 10 hours to do each of those. So here's my block for the actual session. Here's my block for, their consult beforehand. Here's my block for their ordering appointment. Here's their block for their editing. And I put all those things in my calendar for all 8. Now see, like, do you still have time? And put in your school pickup time, your school drop off time,
Hmm.
like your Pilates, your yoga, your whatever that makes you feel good. And then a normal bedtime and a
Yeah.
normal, like all the things that you like actually want. Do those 8 sessions actually
Yeah.
fit in
Can you make it work?
your month,
Yeah.
because that's going to tell you what you actually can take and not feel that level of burnout and craziness. And if it's like, okay, I can only take 8, I can't take 12, then don't take 12
Hmm.
in order to like
Right.
that's
Well,
where you
but
have to
then
like
you
really
might
draw the line.
say, right, if I thought I was going to take 12 at, I don't know, $1,000 each. Now I've realized I can only take 8. Okay, well, am I okay with less money or am I
Mhm.
okay with, should I try and charge more per session because I'm not realistically able to do what I thought I was going to be able to do?
Or you
When
need to
you're in,
find a way to take less time for those
to do the
sessions.
things. So, for
Can you do your
example,
editing faster?
the mom that you had seen the Facebook post of said that she was struggling with 2 to 3 sessions a month. So that
Mhm.
tells us something. It tells us either she has not very many hours to actually do her photography business, or she's taking way too long at some part of the process, right? Like something's not adding up on her
She
time.
indicated that she was taking way too long editing, that she was
Right.
really struggling with her editing. She was staying up super late editing.
Mm.
So I think editing is one of like the biggest ways that people lose time and lose money and are also not happy with their craft. I think that
Mm.
there's a level of like, well, why can't I make my images look like that person's? I mean,
Ah,
I know some of that's lighting, some of that's, camera skills and stuff. But so many people lean on those things and don't think about the editing side of it, and they
right.
forget how long editing can take, and they don't bother taking the time to learn editing. They're trying to learn posing, which maybe makes their sessions go faster and maybe their images at the end look better because they've got the baby posed in a better way and lighting and everything like that. But so few people learn how to edit, and then they spend all this extra time waffling around in there, not knowing what they're doing,
Well, for every
and
client as well, that much extra
for
time.
every
So,
client.
as a master editor, what are your recommendations for that? If we have time to add a little bit of that in.
Yeah, so well, I mean, one of the things that saved me the most time is learning keyboard shortcuts, like massive. Like that makes such a big difference. In Photoshop in particular, you can create actions and then attach them to a keyboard shortcut. So every single time you go to the menu to pull something up, it takes you seconds, right? It's not like that doesn't take that long, but it all adds up over time.
Mhm.
So if you're going to the menu and clicking save and then enter, save and then enter on 100 files, it takes you longer than if you create an action to save all and then you press go and it goes
Yeah,
and it puts
perfect.
all your files saved into a folder. So learning those things that you can like for the most basic stuff cut
Hmm.
out of the way that like repetitive tasks. Like, what are you doing over and over and over? And how can you reduce that time? And then I really think people need to give AI a chance
Because
because
you've been using AI recently as part of your editing process, right?
yeah. I've been using Evoto, and so many photographers are saying, like, I mean, so many photographers are on board with Evoto, but another big chunk of people are saying, I can't afford Evoto, it's too expensive.
Mm.
But, and you do have to buy a credit package up front. So I will say that I know some people are like so strapped that like a $200 credit package is just not possible. But I would say try to do whatever you can to make it possible because it saves you so much time. It's like, what is your mental health worth? What is going to bed worth? In my mind, it's worth everything. So I'm going to spend, because really Evoto comes out to roughly 10 cents an image. And
Right.
so if I do 30 images, because that's typically what my galleries are, that cost me $3, right? So yes, I had to buy them up front, but then it cost me $3 and it saves me hours per session. Like I did an example edit the other day where I did the exact same baby. I did my full normal Photoshop routine. She had not like the worst newborn acne you've ever seen, but like not great skin either. I did the full edit. It took me 5 minutes. I did the full edit in Evoto and it took me 1 minute. And
Wow.
I stacked them on top of each other and I turned them on and off, and you could not tell the difference.
Yeah. And
Like they looked almost, I mean, like there was like slight little teeny things, but for the most part, you could not tell that my
which
hand
is good.
editing was any different than Evoto's.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, I don't care. Like if the end result is like that it looks better, like heck yeah, I'm going to take 4 minutes less because over time that's
And I
massive.
think that's the compounding effect that we've been talking about in the scale of number of clients, but also
Mhm.
presumably is more obvious to you photographers in number of images. Like if you think about how many images you're editing per session, and then you multiply that up by how many sessions you're taking in the fall, that 4 minutes or 3 minutes multiplied up is just that's going to make all the difference, and like that's going to
Mhm.
be hours of time potentially, right? Rather than just minutes of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've had AI do all the numbers for me, and it's like weeks of
Yeah,
work that you get rid of if you do, a quarter of the amount of time when you're editing. So
right.
I would say, like, like I think with all this conversation, it's like analyze where your biggest problems are
Hmm.
and figure out how you can reduce that time so that you can either continue to take that many clients, but like you're working much less on those clients, or charge clients more so that you don't need to take as many clients,
Hmm.
or like you can find that balance of like they say like, well, you can sell 5 things for $1,000 and make $5,000, you can sell 10 things for $500 and make $5,000. Like what is it that you want to do? Some people are so fast and so good at volume that
Yeah.
they're like, no, I want to do many sessions, I can crank those babies out and I can make $10,000 a day, and like
Yeah, and I
that's not
enjoy
me.
that process, right? That you
That's
have
not
to
me
be
at
a
all.
certain type of person to want to do that, but maybe you are. But like knowing
Yeah.
that, like, are you the kind of person who enjoys cranking it out like that? If you are, it's going to work for you. If you're not, then that's just that model's going to fall apart for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that I was going to say about this, like this, the compounding effect of the small things is that there's also like a cognitive load of just all these little decisions. Like I always remember hearing about this story that I think is so interesting, which was that when Obama was president, he made a decision to only have black suits, I think it was, and not black and navy suits in his closet, because then you have to pick then like the shoes and the tie and all the parts that go, are you pick, and the belt, like are you doing the black or the navy? And it sounds silly, but he was like, if by 10 p.m. I'm exhausted and I have to make a decision about pressing the button for like, like are we going nuclear or not? Like I used up my decision on whether I was wearing black shoes or tan shoes
Oh,
that
I
day.
like that.
Like you actually have like a limited number of decisions you can make through the day. Now, that's not to say you wouldn't make the important decisions when you need to at the end, but your brain is fried by then, and it's so much harder and it takes so much longer. And that's that burnout effect where you then don't get a good sleep because you've absolutely like hit empty on the gas by that point in all your decisions. Then you don't have a good sleep. Then you wake up tired. then you do the same thing to yourself and repeat, repeat, repeat. So like all even those little things you're doing that are taking some of those small editing decisions off your plate, like
Hmm.
leaves you to either be more creative and like enjoy more the big edits that you're making, or to have space to do like just something else with your mind. Maybe you're like you have some kind of creative hobby that you want to spend that time to, but you never get to like your knitting or your needlepoint or whatever that might be because you're like have no like brain energy left to do any of it.
Yeah. Well, and if you allow, I mean, like in the sense of editing, like if you allow AI process to take care of the basics, like the skin cleanup or, a sky replacement or whatever, like something that's super simple, wrinkle reducing, um, now you have more time that you could use on the creative things. Like
Hmm.
maybe you still take just as much time, but
Right, but
like
you
you
enjoy
actually
it.
enjoy the process because you didn't spend all that time doing the grunt work first.
Definitely.
So I think that sometimes that like just making those little changes and allowing those things to like take that place, using your time in different ways just feels better.
Hmm.
So like maybe you're spending just as much time during the fall, but your burnout levels don't feel the same because you're happy with it. You're happy with your
Yeah.
work, you're making more money, you're seeing your family more, like even just like the structure of your day is better because you shot all your sessions on one day and then you had the rest of your week empty where you could edit and take care of things and you
Do it at
weren't
your own
bouncing
time.
around with different times like you said like for me, like my sessions always start at 10 or 12:30. And there is that Obama black suit sort of feeling about it where you're like, I know that my clients come in at either 10 or 12:30. And that's that. I don't have to be like, oh shoot, what's my time? What schedule is my session?
Right.
Or what time is my session?
That
Or
constant, like, I better go find out, oh, is this one
yeah.
starting at 9 or 8:30? And if it's starting
Hmm.
at 8:30, does that mean I have to like drop the kids off a little early at school so I'm back? And oh, I haven't cleaned up the stu like all that like cascade of things you have to start to think about.
Well,
Whereas
and
you know.
like because I have my Mondays to do this sort of stuff, like admin things, I don't go to Pilates on Mondays. So like I know I have nothing on Monday mornings. So
Yeah.
like my weekend can like I can just do my weekend, have my own time with my family. And like we were gone this weekend, so we got home late last night. And I woke up this morning and I like slowly got out of bed and kind of like and got my kids off to school and then I analyzed my calendar like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I
Didn't
have this
rush
week?
into it.
Now I can get back into work mode, figure out what's happening instead of Sunday night going, oh crap, do I have a session tomorrow morning? What's happening? I
Hmm.
don't know. Oh shoot, I got to get back to the studio because I'm not set up for my session in the morning. Like it just allows you to kind of ease into your week and go, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm ready.
And if you're the kind of person who really likes a running start on a Monday morning, you change that and you have it in a totally
Yeah.
different way, right? It's like what makes most sense for you. I don't take any client calls on a Monday either for the same reason. I have like one retainer client and that's it. And it's because I don't want to have to put the brain and power into a last minute unexpected like sales call with someone or like some important call where I'm not in work mode yet and I get up and it's on my schedule at 9 a.m. So I block
Yeah.
my Mondays for that same reason.
Well, and I had a mentor a couple years ago who she did like a block schedule where she was mostly more of a family photographer than she did newborns, but not the same way. And so she would do a week of shooting and then a week of editing and then a week of shooting and a
Oh,
week of editing.
interesting.
And it wouldn't work for me personally because I mostly do newborns. So I need to have stuff all the time so that I can schedule them and have nice buffers for my own mental health and all that. But like it worked very well for her. She was
Right.
a divorced single mom. And so her kids were with
Yeah.
dad on the weeks that she was shooting.
Right. So
And
she's
then they were
completely
with
free.
her the weeks that
Yeah.
she was editing so that she was able to make those changes. So she took the things that were in her life and went, okay, how do I make this work the best for me? And then she offered that to her clients like, oh, I actually don't have any sessions this week, but I do next week. Would that work for you? You
Right.
know, you make it
Yeah,
work.
and like maybe you break your own rule sometimes, but if by having a rule, like chances are
Mhm.
80-90% of the time it won't get broken. I think when it comes just as a way to maybe like finish this up, we've I really would suggest journaling what your ideal life would look like. Because I think we always say,
Yeah.
oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't. But you're like, how could I dare suggest to clients that it would work this way? A, you probably can. But B, like, have just allow yourself to think about it without those like, oh, I couldn't do it though because nobody would pay that much. I don't have people like that in my neighborhood, whatever it is. Just like journal the absolute ideal day, like a year from now. It's fall
Mhm.
2026. You're getting up on like a mid-September morning. Like, what is your perfect situation that you would be in? What does it look like? And then go and like analyze what all those different parts are and see if you can like implement some of them in the next few months to start to like move towards that. Maybe you're never going to get that perfect ideal. In fact, I would journal it on the assumption you could never ever meet it. Like, what's the absolute most amazing thing that you're doing? Um, but you might be surprised how many of those things you could make happen if you go and investigate.
Yeah, I like it.
Do
I
it.
think it helps too. I mean, like my falls have changed dramatically over the last 4 years of just being aware
Yeah.
and trying to make little tweaks. Like, I mean, there's still some things that I will do different next year.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but each year gets a little bit better
Yeah.
because of that awareness, I think.
Yeah. And I think probably also talking to other people and realizing what they do. So
Mhm.
maybe that's like you didn't think you could do that. Like it never occurred to me photographers could do a schedule that was on off in terms of
Yeah.
weeks of shooting. I kind of love that idea. So yeah, like what are other people doing where you're like, well, maybe I could take part of that and move that into my business.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I think hopefully we've covered all that we need to cover for this. I think the key is, yeah, like journaling, thinking about it just now, and then what baby steps can you start to put in place next year and treat future you better than you are currently treating them.
Yes. How can you cut some time corners too? What areas are taking you the most time and how could you possibly reduce them?
Yeah, definitely. And if part of that is how you communicate with your clients, how you email them, and all the messages you send to them, then we obviously have our full email workflow template. So the advantage of that is that it also shows you like the way that Page structures it for each client that's the same. Because once you start making repeatable systems, it gets much faster as well because you know exactly what to do client to client. And that reduces some of that cognitive load if you don't have to
Yeah,
think about
you
it.
remember where you're at with each client too. I was just going to say that really helps.
And with our emails that are, you have them automated in your system, and anybody else who buys them can automate them as well into their CRM. You don't even need to remember if you send the style guide or the address or here's the reminder, right? Like that's all just auto
Hmm.
set up. And so that's another thing where you don't have to remember to do those things manually. They're being done for you automated.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, good luck to everyone out there. We're almost through. Hopefully
Good
you're
luck.
watching this in January and you're like relaxing with a warm cup of coffee on your couch
And you do
through
not,
the
you're
the
not going
burnout.
to. And yeah, hopefully when we speak to next last Monday, which will be November, you'll be through
Yeah.
the worst of it and you can tell us how it's gone.
Yes. All
Excellent.
right.
All right. Thank you,
You. Yeah.
everybody.